Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me here on this Monday morning for Burning River Browns Talk. I want to say I appreciate all the support. I appreciate each and every one of you. Had a wonderful weekend. We have some Browns news over the weekend. We have some other news to talk about as well as what's going to be coming up this week for the Browns. Also, want to let you know, please like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all the support, appreciate everything that you do. Before we get into exactly what I'm going to be doing on this show, um, we're going to have to pause for a break for our sponsors. So let's pause right now. Okay, we're back. Thank you. Appreciate the patience. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Some interesting Browns news that happened over the weekend. Um, Cade York, an old friend of ours, is coming back. He was brought on a practice squad futures contract, so he's going to be another leg in camp. Uh, could be pushing Dustin Hopkins, but I doubt it. I wouldn't read too much into it, but they're going to give him a chance. And he's just it's another kicker that's going to be here in camp. So it's interesting that Cade York came back, and it seems like he left on pretty bad terms. But at the time, he was having issues with his kicking. He was having issues during the games with his kicking because, from what I heard and from what I understood, in practice he was making great kicks. He was doing this over and over again. But when it came time in the game, he had like like he had a symptom of the yips, like he just couldn't make a kick. And I think that final preseason game last year against Kansas City was the final nail in the coffin for him, and we released him and traded for Dustin Hopkins, and it worked out very well for the Cleveland Browns. So, hey, welcome back, Cade. We're glad to have you. We'll give you a chance. Second chances are always a great thing to have. Another thing that's going on, and I'm going to make sure I go over this with you guys, is that this week in Orlando, Florida, the NFL owners meetings will be taking place, and I'm about to pull up for you the exact dates. And when I do that, I was about to have that. I should have been better prepared, so that's just about it. NFL owners meetings should be happening. Well, there's going to be Twitter feeds that you could follow on this, but should be happening when it comes to this week. So let's see what owners meetings are going to be underway. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida this week specifically. And I think that's a good opportunity when it comes to that for the annual owners meetings to get updates on where certain players are with their rehab. For instance, Deshaun Watson and um, Nick Chubb. So sometimes no news is just no news at this point. People are usually reading into things about Nick Chubb. He was walking sooner than they thought he would be in December. So that was a good 4 months ago. So we should get a pretty good update on where he's at in his rehabilitation process, as well as by the time the OTAs start, which would be late April, early May, sometime after the draft, we'll know even more. So a little bit more patience on that when it comes to Nick Chubb having an understanding. I also think the Deshaun Watson rehab updates another interesting thing. He was throwing this month. Don't know have any updates on how the throwing went. It was probably light 10-yard tosses to David Njoku. He started throwing the football again. That's good. So if not, he's either to be on track or ahead. That's what I was hearing about Deshaun Watson's rehab. Nick Chubb, he was walking sooner than they thought. So my guess is if he was walking sooner than they thought, he's probably on track or ahead as well. Keep in mind too, look at what the team is doing personnel wise, because they actually know they have a better uh, thumbprint or a better feel of where the rehab process is, and look at the personnel moves they made. Yes, they brought in Foreman, to be a running back, but they're not expecting him to be a feature back. like Nick Chubb, but I think that would say, but him and Jerome Ford could do it by committee for 3 or 4 games, and maybe they're expecting Nick to be back by week 5. I think they're expecting Deshaun Watson to be ready by training camp. And they have we're gonna carry 3 quarterbacks, and it'll be Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and Ty Huntley. That's what I'm guessing right now. Uh, Pretty much it at this point, what's happening. I think the NFL owners meetings, storylines going into it in Orlando, that's this week. I'm trying to get the exact days this week, and I can't find any sources to give me the exact days, but it's supposed to be this week. I think it is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you're going to be looking for storylines. And I think the storylines with the Cleveland Browns, there'll be storylines with other NFL teams and other things going on in the league, such as rule changes and all these other things. I think what you're going to see is pretty much non-answers from from Barry and Stefanski. They say, well, they're doing well. They're not going to give you anything specific. That's just what they do. But what I think they're going to do is they're going to tell you by the language is going to be spoken through what the moves the team makes. So wouldn't be surprised with that. I'm gonna send you an article today through the Fanatical Elves Network, but the Fans First Sports Network. You're going to see a piece I'm going to do about a developmental offensive tackle. I think the Browns might be looking at from Notre Dame, um, Blake Fisher. I think he's a young, promising developmental tackle. He's going to just turn 21, so he's going to be very young, but he'll have an opportunity to learn behind Jed Wills, Jack Conklin, and Dewan Jones this season to really, get his feet underneath him when he's in the NFL. So it's a possibility for a depth pickup as well as a development because after this season, the only person that would be under contract would be would be well, actually, Jed Wills would be out if he's not here because this is the last year of his contract. But Jack Conklin's still under contract, but he's been hurt a lot lately. So it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen with him. And he hasn't been able to stay healthy for the last 2 years. So we'll see what the team does with that. But I think looking at offensive linemen in this draft because this draft is a very heavy offensive line draft, a very good offensive line draft. So we'll see what we could do, or what the Browns will do, I should say. But at that point, that should do it. That should wrap this up right now. And what I want to let you know is I'm going to be here again tomorrow morning at 8:30. We're going to talk more Browns news. Some things will come down. We'll talk about the NFL owners meetings, and we're going to be going ahead and saying, "Hey, just remember, as always, when the river burns, it always burns brown and orange." I will see you.